hit the button. Right, that's it, we're live. So, I mean, I guess for everyone in the chat, you don't really notice a difference. But for me, I'm recording. So there you go. I do have a couple topics I want to talk about, but I wonder if they'll come up naturally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up a couple of the hands we already have. And if they come up, then great, I've got some notes. But otherwise, Tadeus, you're first with your hand up. I'm going to give you the invite to speak. Come join us on stage. Hello.
Oh my god, sorry, I'm eating.
It's all good, it's all good.
Okay. I have 3 questions. So the first question I'm gonna ask straight away is about Stuttgart Heilbronn.
Yes.
So I've seen a lot of people talking about the quote-unquote error accuracies, and I have some also some feedback regarding to those error accuracies. Like for instance, why is the GSMR model being used in all the locomotives, and why is there not error accurate layers? For instance, I saw the Oslo loco being used as a layer in Stuttgart Heilbronn, even though it's set in the year 2000. So I don't completely understand that.
Yep. Again, I'll answer this with the limited knowledge I have, and I would say it's limited. But all I'd say is generally when we think about creating new routes and new content, especially when it comes to eras, there is we've talked about this briefly in the past, but there is generally a debate between what can we give to players, and even if it's not fully era accurate or realistic, would it bring more gameplay to the route? And then we make a decision based on whether we think that would bring value to players or not. I mean, at the end of the day, if we can bring more value to people and players, then great. And obviously, then there's a question of, is that within the realm of scope for what we're looking to create? Like I said, if we could make or create new content or create new locos that are era accurate, for example, then fantastic. But then there's obviously the process of creating that. If we have something in game, maybe it's not era accurate, maybe it's similar, or maybe it's just good enough, or maybe it's for players it's not good enough. But we've seen the debate and we've asked players before, would you rather have more even if it's less accurate, or just not have anything? And generally people would prefer more. Maybe if not everyone does, it just gives people a little bit more of a chance to have something rather than nothing. I appreciate that's not a brilliant answer to what you're asking for. I think you want more detail, but I'll be honest, I don't have the full decision process. But I know when we've come to that topic with people before, generally it's better to have something than nothing.
Mm-hmm. So my second question is about the Tadami line.
Oh, sure.
So I know the Tatami line is coming out, right? And I think there's also a demand for Japanese players to use, you know what Densha the Go controllers are, like the Souk the Go controllers.
I'd have to look at them. We
Those ones.
were playing Dench to Go as a playtest not too long ago.
Yeah, so my main question is, will those controllers be natively supported? Because I think it will make a big difference for Japanese players and players alike to use those controllers.
Oh, sure. If I'm honest, I'm not actually sure. I might actually pose that to the team, especially if you're saying that there is some native, possibly some native links there for players that have played Densha They Go and want to port over
Yeah,
to TSW.
a lot of people who play Japanese train simulators, let's say Boss of You Express or JRE's train simulators, they always use those controllers. For me personally, I will start using them because on Christmas I will be getting one. I just wanted to ask if there's going to be native support
I've
because
not
I
heard
think
any
it will be
conversations
also
yet, as a note. But
okay.
I would love to ask that to the team. I don't know where we'd get back to on that. And I think if I'm being candid, I think sometimes the rail driver support is there and isn't there at times, which we've got to get better at doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to ask the question. There's enough time that if there is a real desire there from players, I'd like to suggest it if we can. So that'd be great.
Nice. So my third and last question is, right? So the new so basically Valve has announced 3 new hardware things, right? The Steam controller, the Steam machine, and the Steam frame, right? My question is, will the Steam machine be supported on Train Sim World? Because it's a hefty device, but I don't know if it's very much supported on Train Sim World. Because I have tried playing Train Sim World on Linux, and it hasn't been the best experience so far for me. My main question is, will it be supported on the Steam machine?
I would say, without knowing more about where this conversation has gone with our teams, we would probably look to try and support it. Because Steam Machine could be a really big platform. Let's be honest, it's kind of somewhere hybrid between the games you own on Steam and a console, which is great. I'm just praying it doesn't cost more than $1,000 because the RAM shortages in the world kind of suck right now. But I would say, without knowing more, we would probably look to support it as best we can. But as you say, if it's Linux based, it might cause complications potentially. I'm not sure. But we
Yeah,
would
this one.
probably investigate, and if we can, we would look to support it because we do try and support Steam Deck. I think some players have talked to us about the experience on Steam Deck, and it's pretty good. It works. Maybe in some parts it's not ideal, but I would hope we would support that more. So no true answer there, but the idea is I think we would try.
All right. Thank you, Dan. I'm gonna leave the stage now.
No
But
worries.
thank you for answering all those questions, even though they weren't that like. My feedback is like they weren't that good answered, but like I get the general gist.
No,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I may have just invited someone to speak. Cool. That was great. We've got a lot of hands. I'm going to try and go through these as well. Something I did want to note, actually, because Stuttgart came up. We are looking at, I think since we've launched, I don't know if it's affecting all platforms at the moment. We're live on consoles. I think some of the Frankfurt S-Bahn layers are not showing up. Teams are looking at that at the moment. There's just conversations going on my team's chat, and we're just chasing and making sure that if you've got those layers, you should be seeing them. But if that does come up in a question, we're looking at that and we're going to try and make sure that they show up correctly. But we'll go over to the next person in the queue. Josh, frequent competition winner and joiner of these streams. Hi, Josh. I'm not hearing you if you're trying to speak. I don't know if you may be muted.
Right, let's try that. There we go.
Hello.
We got you.
Well, the microphone's failed. I've got everything patched through some software in my back and the back of my PC. And to add to that, also the guy on the server who also owns the same sequin blazer as Harry.
Yes, fashionable. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that blazer. I love that blazer so
Yes.
much.
Yes. Anyways, right. Let's get down to business, shall we say? First question I have is, with the Medway Valley line announcement yesterday during the season of reveals,
What a reveal.
which I am very excited about, I do have to say, partly because I do live in Electro-style territory.
The devs are in the chat. I mean, Forks, welcome.
Yes. The GSMR module that basically allows you to plug your head codes in, which they're introducing in that. What is the feasibility of taking that and updating other trains with said code module in order to make it functional on other routes, would you say?
Feasibility, really not sure. But what I would probably suggest is that that kind of change. I know they've done a lot of work to update the 375 with those features. I don't think it would be easy, if I'm honest. If we do get Matt joining in, I'm happy to pose this question to him and kind of understand a little bit more about actual logistics. But I think the thing is if we're going to update older content, we've got to consider, does that have any ramifications if we go back to, say, Southeastern High Speed or other content or other locos? There's a lot of work there that we're changing that might impact people that have that content. It obviously may bring updates and new features, great, thumbs up. May introduce new problems, which isn't always great, and then we've got to go back and fix them as well. So I would say feasibly it's not an easy one. Not saying it's impossible. I would love to see how players find it, and if the feedback's really good, and there's a world where it's absolutely astounding, and then we look to try and do that more from our side. But it generally tends to be more future focusing. I'd love to talk more about like how we look at back catalog content, how we look at remasters, how we look at new features. But I think there's quite a lot to unpack there. So just to answer your question, I think it's not that feasible because it's quite a complex process to update the older content.
Yeah.
Especially when it's not necessarily like a core change. This is like a loco model, loco setup, like tech in-depth feature. So
Yeah.
I hope that's that.
Yeah, that works. Thank you guys. And okay, I know it's not anything TSW related, but Harry, Can you tell us that joke?
It's my time to shine. Absolutely, I can tell you a dad joke. Nobody ever asked me for the dad joke. I basically force it on the team every Friday. Okay.
She's got the book as a note.
I've got the book. It's the official book. Okay. Ooh, okay. You already know this one, Alex. Sorry. I knew a guy who was arrested for stealing hay. Unfortunately, he couldn't make bail.
Add on.
Yeah, the chat reaction's it's about right. Oh
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Oh, I just realised I
Yeah.
have the wrong mic
Thank you.
patch through, so I can't use my sound effects.
Oh. Oh, well
It was
done,
I'm
just
mate.
gonna be a bit
assuming
of
that it was
sound
a
effects.
big applause. I'm assuming that's what it was.
Anyway, thank you, Jess, for jumping
Right.
on.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes, all good. Just to finish it off, I'm gonna do one dad joke again because why not? So you guys have all heard of the Christmas song Feliz Navidad, right?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever thought it might be a Scouser singing Feliz Navidad?
Oh, that took me a long time to get. Oh, my brain's not working today. Oof.
I like that you brought this on the first recorded Q&A.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think it sets the tone exactly right. Oh
Sorry.
gosh. Okay. Well, perfect. Anyway,
Well,
thank you, Josh.
well, I will say,
Thanks,
if I
Josh.
ever work at Dovetail, how are you gonna have someone to tell you dad jokes too?
Perfect. It'll be you
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
See ya. See ya.
Bye.
There we go. I do notice I've been trying to keep a eye on some of the questions in the chat. I do want to make sure that we come to some of the chat questions at some point. We've got a lot of people with hands up, which is great. I think just an easy one I've seen. So yes, that more reveals will be next Monday for season reveals. There is a roadmap stream planned. It won't be this Thursday, it'll be the next Thursday. So I think we do some quick mental maths. I think it's the 18th. Yes, it should be the 18th of December. Me and Matt will be live, roadmap stream. I mean, don't expect anything new in that roadmap. It will just be covering what's in season reveals. But then me and Matt will be live on the channel, and you can throw some live Q&A at us there as well. So should be good. I don't know, Harry, if you've seen anything worth bringing up before we go back to the hands.
There was a question about if there's plans to improve game performance.
Yes, there are plans. Performance is a really big topic. I've still got my notes about blurry textures. I think there probably will be a question about have we done anything in the last week, or is what's the current situation, or maybe if some people weren't here last week, we can kind of share the messaging again. But just to be clear, blurred textures and performance are really hand in hand. Optimization and learning is obviously all tied into this. We are trying to work on performance as best we can. I think it's been a whole series of learning. Optimization is kind of the key word we keep throwing around, and that's not just from a core perspective for TrainSim World, but it's also when we work with new partners or existing partners for TrainSim World add-ons. It's always looking at what assets are optimized, how are they optimized. I mean, if we're looking at creators trying to make bigger and better routes with more features, we're obviously looking at limitations to make sure they're still supported well and they work. So performance is a top one for us to look at. Blurred textures is number one. There was a presentation we had from Matt for the company as well, where we're looking at blurred textures over the next few months as like a number one focus with our development teams, shifting resources to make sure we keep supporting that. We're also building up towards other things in kind of January, February time. Should be really great, but don't get me wrong, whilst we're working on new stuff, performance, blurred textures, there is a lot of resource from our team still there. So yeah, we're really working on it. We're trying to listen, take the feedback, but it's still ongoing. And if there's like big things, especially if we can get Matt on this call, we can maybe give a proper in-depth update in terms of technical details. But yes.
We also had another question that ties in quite nicely to the renationalisation of railways. The question is, does the renationalisation of railways make obtaining licenses easier?
Oh,
so that
that's
could
a good
be a
one.
little.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think
Follow-up.
there's a lot of news about the GBR, the Great British Railway discussion. It's probably worth talking about it. So I think for now, If you haven't heard the news, in the UK, there's a lot of talk about renationalisation, and they're bringing the new brand, the Great British Railway, as a way of kind of nationalising all the railways and bring them together, and they've announced a new livery. So where does Dovetail come into that? Well, we've actually helped them visualise that new livery in our game. So I think today our CEOs and some of the people from our marketing team have been at the events and actually showcasing to people from the wider public at London Bridge and other stations in the UK. They've been showcasing it. I think Hornby also made a loco with the new liveries on. We've done it in our game as well in Train Sim World, and just kind of showcase what it looks like. It's not really to do with us. It's more just showing what it is. I think that's kind of caused a few questions. I'd probably just state now, I think people asking, like, is that actually coming to the game? There's nothing to share at this stage. It's difficult to say if we're even really looking at it at this point. Some official accounts and some official news outlets have kind of suggested that we are. I think the number one thing people have been asking is, are we going to get that livery in game? And I guess the best way of saying it is we'd certainly look into it, but there is really nothing to say at this point. We made that simply for visualization for the Department of Transport, and we've not done any progress about what does that mean for an add-on or a DLC or a download or anything. So we've not done that work. If people want it, we can. I think there might be some conversations, but there's nothing we can say at this point, and really what it would mean and what details. So there's no details to share. I do think maybe the odd article has gone out saying that we are definitely doing it. I can't comment, and I think internally we still don't really have that ironclad in, so I'd maybe just take it with a pinch of salt for now. But it's great that we're getting involved. It's great that we're actually at these places and presenting it. I think it's really cool. I think we had the Secretary of State looking at the Train Sim World and seeing the livery, and obviously we've been on BBC and Sky News, which is kind of cool. So props to the team that've been working on it. But like I said, from an actual, are we getting that kind of actually as a download or a livery or a download or DLC? Nothing to share at this point. To the question though on licensing, for now I'd just say it's really unclear, but it's not a worry. I would assume in terms of does it make licensing easier, I don't know if I'd jump to easy as a starting point. I think maybe it will eventually, but I don't think that the whole conversation around licensing it's really difficult. We've learned that different licensors want different levels of oversight. Some licensors you go to are happy with, yeah, if your brand, if our brand is in your game and you're using it, you know, and it's represented correctly, cool. We don't care what you do, go crazy. Obviously, I'm not verbatim on this wording. Other brands are a bit more. They just want a lot of oversight on things, and you know we've seen with maybe your TFLs or MBTA. Sometimes whenever we use that license in any screenshot, they want to see it just to be sure that it's fine. And most of the time they just look at it and be like, yeah, that looks good. But that means sometimes when we're sharing stuff in roadmaps, we have to pull images because of licensing, or when we're sharing images online, when we're talking about it, we have to be a little bit cautious because everything we want to say needs to be approved. Sometimes that even means the copy that, say, our social team writes, or that we put in roadmaps, the actual words we use or on store copies and things, that also has to be approved. So you get a different mixed bag. Where did GBR sit in this and Department of Transport? I'm not really sure. If they tend to be a bit more on the freedom side of things, then great, it might be really easy. If they tend to be a bit more restricted with it, might be, I wouldn't say harder, but it might just be a bit of a longer conversation. So for now, I'd say don't have any worries with how it might impact other licenses in the game. I'd assume very little. We don't truly know just yet, but I would assume very little. We don't expect it to have ramifications or impacts on previous add-ons or anything. So it's interesting news. It's good to see the development now. But I'd appreciate if anyone has any thoughts about the nationalization or what it means. Just generally, it's interesting to hear about it. But for the news today, we were kind of just involved a little bit. It was nice to have Train Sim World mentioned on Sky News. So yes, Ben. So just to be clear, yeah, they were. The renders shown on, like, again, I think Sky News used it in news outlets. The renders of that livery were made in Train Sim World. So some of our team have actually made that livery. They've thrown it in Train Sim World, and that was used as like the official what we're sharing and how the DFT have been sharing it to be like, look at our train. Instead of going to make like a concept from like a concept artist, they've actually used our simulator. which is cool. And they used Hornby as well. So yes, no, but we did mention optimization. It is definitely still ongoing, definitely #1 priority, but we've got lots of hands up. So I'm gonna go back to some of the people in the queue, and we'll keep talking with more questions. That one train guy, I've sent you an invite to come speak if you're free.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello.
Hello, I don't know if this question has been asked in a recent Q&A, but will Italy will be added in another route that isn't the Bernina line?
Ooh, I don't think we've announced anything with Italy. I'd love to say yes, but we've not got any news to share at this point. So nothing we can really formally say.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that. I
That's
wish
great.
you a happy new year and a happy Christmas. Goodbye.
Oh, you too.
That was very quick and very sweet. Like I said, if
Yeah,
we've not
thank
announced
you.
something, it's hard for us to talk about it. There are things that obviously me and Harry and some of the team will be aware of that are in development, and maybe at times we can't always talk about what they are. We're using seasonal reveals as a way to start lifting the news on some of that. But until we really formally announce it, we've got nothing planned, at least for Italy at the moment. But thanks for coming up. I appreciate the question. Next in the list, Blue Jay, welcome. I think this is your 5th attendance in a row, so seasoned familiar.
Afternoon. How
Hello.
are we today?
Doing good, doing good.
All good.
Oh, that's good to hear. I was actually going to ask about blurry textures again, but you've pretty much already answered that one earlier today, so I'll skip over that one, unless anyone wanted a recap.
I don't mind
think
giving
this-
a recap after you've come and answered your other question.
Yeah, if you could do a recap for what people who weren't here last time, that would be appreciated
Yeah,
for
we'll do
them.
that.
I think the second question I have is in relation to train faults. A
Yes.
few bits of content released for Train Sim World 6 did not have Train Sim World 6 features with them on release. I think the GWR 802 is still waiting for faults. Oh, it's on the top of my head, Cargo Line Volume 5 and the Transport for Wales 142 don't have faults either. I think the concern that I have is that the features are slowly either being forgotten or neglected by certain parties.
Yeah. I appreciate you mentioning that. I think definitely core content, the 802. I'd like to take another look at that, especially if that's still awaiting faults. And I hear the discussion. I think something I've been really keen to try and push to our team, and we're hopefully folding this. I think it was core patch 5 internally, which would be something we're looking at just after January. But this even applies back to the class 1972 stock. I don't know if it's a class on that. That's been missing suspension, and that's something that we obviously promised when we mentioned about the West Coast Mainline updates with 20.5. And in the last couple of months, it's been something that people have been asking me about, and I've been talking about how it's folded into one of our next patches. Just to be really clear on that, we had every full intent to get that into one of our patches maybe a couple months ago at this point. It didn't make it for that patch, and then it kind of just ended up kind of skipping a little bit. It's not ideal. It doesn't mean the team aren't still working hard and trying to make sure that we're focusing on some of the key updates. I can't say it's the most high priority fix ever, but it is still a feature that you're missing that we've talked about, that realistically speaking, you should open the game and expect to see. So you can hold us accountable to that. And I'm still working on our side from the community team to remind our dev team this is still outstanding. This is still something I really hope that we can get into a core update. You know, it may not be as high priority as performance, but I want us to fix this. I want us to give this to players. But yeah, obviously that extends to train faults, and I think you've mentioned a couple there with Cargo Line Volume 5 and the TFW. Just to be clear, when it comes to third-party content, I can't... the examples you gave are great. If they don't work, and we'll look at those if we can take some notes on that. But just to be clear, just generally speaking, if third parties work on content, there is a chance that they're, depending on where the development lies, they may be able to implement new features and new content for the new core. But if they started that development before, say, a new release, so for example, again, I'll use Cargo Line Volume 5, but just to caveat that I'm not 100% sure on the background here. And again, this is nothing for Skyhook and not talking about the development process. But as an example, if that development started back in Train Sim World 5, and then we talk about the new core features and new core updates, they then have to add that to what they've already been working on. So they may do that, they may seek to do that, but whether they can get all that over the line, obviously that's a part of QA and testing and checking. But when you have development that exists on 2 cores, even if it releases in Train Sim World 6, there is that element of kind of adding those features. So you should expect them, you should hold us accountable. So we'll look at that based on what you've mentioned. But it is something that I think we should be really hard on pushing. And I think for the team, I think we have failed on a couple instances there. And again, for me, I think the 72 stock, I would have loved to see that be in an update maybe a couple months ago. Again, personally, I'm pushing that, but we'll try and see if we can chase up on those faults for those remaining ones there as well. And if there's other examples, just keep us in the loop, keep us knowledgeable. We do our best to look through feedback threads, but I'll be honest, when we're checking through feedback, it can be easy for us to focus on, say, the recent 3 releases, make sure that they're up to scratch, then look back at core. There is a chance anything that kind of is more backcat or something that's been existing for a while doesn't get looked at as regularly as more recent ones. So we'll do our best, but I appreciate you saying that.
This final one's mainly for myself. Will we get a livery designer competition soon?
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Oh, it would be a lot of fun.
We don't have
Writing
any
it
plans
down.
this side. Yeah, take a note. We don't have any plans for this side of Christmas. We could throw one up, but I think I'd rather support it properly. Let's maybe look at that for January. Might be a new year. Let's kickstart a competition. We could maybe give away a few keys because that'd be fun.
I'm happy with that. Yep, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say.
Brilliant. Thank you, Blue Jay. Appreciate you being here.
It's
and
always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And just to mention in the chat again, I think some people says, can you guarantee faults be added to DLC? Can I guarantee it? No. Should we be able to guarantee it? Probably. But if we're being honest about some of the situations, some of these features have slipped. I would like to think it's not the full picture. Most things, most trains, most locos have suspension, most routes and most content has Train Sim World 6 features. But if we're talking about guarantees, that would imply 100% failure, no chance of 100% success, no chance of failure. And we're not really seeing that. There is the occasional thing that we don't work on. So I would love to say in a world, yes, but I would like to push our teams to encourage us to get to that point before we can make those kind of statements. I do appreciate the big double bold text. Is there going to be multiplayer? We talked about this in the past. So just to say it clearly, extensively, Train Sim World as a franchise, there is no intent to push multiplayer into Train Sim World. There is obviously other developments going on with things like Metro Rivals, which is our other announced game. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it's not a train simulator game. It's very much its own thing. But that has multiplayer in it, that has UE5, there's new development going on from our teams. We've never made a true multiplayer game where multiple people are existing in the same space at once. We've done other titles that have played with the elements of multiplayer, but we've never really done that fully. So we need to make sure we're not just diving into the deep end. I mean, if I asked you how is multiplayer going to work in Train Sim World, how would you suggest it works? I think everyone has a little different perception of what that means. Because does it just mean multiple people are on the same route at once? Does it mean that other people are helping each other out? There's loads of ways you could implement it. But just to be clear, for Train Sim World, we don't have an intent to bring multiplayer to Train Sim World. But we're learning it and we're trying different tools out at the moment. Doesn't mean that door will remain closed for future developments of Dovetail games. But for Train Sim World, that door is closed as of today. So it's an interesting topic because every time we mention multiplayer, you kind of get some people in the community that are like, this is the #1 thing we want to see. And you get other people saying like, if you add this, I couldn't hate you more. So it's a little bit decisive. I think the one thing I want to come back to though is that it was a video with Adam and Matt back in Train Sim World 2 era. There's like a video talking about Matt when he mentioned multiplayer and it was definitely coming and it was a thing. We've gone back on our word since then. So just to be clear, I know a video exists where we said multiplayer is coming for Train Sim World, but as of today, we're shutting the door. So yeah, I think there might be some thoughts on that, but we have talked about this a little bit in the past, especially when Metro Rivals came about and there is multiplayer in that and what does that mean? But there you go. I did want to make sure I followed.
9 hands. We still got 9 hands up. Oh, I can't count.
I'm happy to keep going as a note. I don't know if you've got any meetings this time, Harry.
I can cancel them if I do. Let me have a look.
Um,
No, I've no meetings.
Wonderful. I think it's great talking with the community, and I think again, just being really honest. I think this space is fantastic to talk about. Talk to the community candidly about lots of different discussion topics, and kind of know what happens on people's what comes up for people's minds and what doesn't. But it's great to also see 101 people in this in the chat. Anyway, I promised I'd talk a bit about blurry textures. So we did this last week, but it wasn't recorded. This is the latest and greatest that I know from blurred textures that I've been told in a call with Matt. So I jumped on a call with Matt and Lucas, tried to understand more about blurred textures. This was a few weeks ago now. I don't know if those few weeks have made some drastic changes or not, but I'll go through it. There's a lot of notes I have here. I'll try and keep it concise. But let's wind back the story. Firstly, what is blurry textures? Blurry textures, obviously, it's in the name. It's when the textures of your train appear lower resolution, blurred, poor quality, and you're looking at them like, what is this? Where's my high detailed, wonderful looking train? The story is a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, I think for everyone listening, all you want to know is when is it going to be fixed? The solution to that is coming in the sense that it's our number one priority. We're going to try and get something that is tangibly a fix in soon, but it is not a simple, it's not a simple just, oh, we found a fix, done, and it will never appear again. So let me give some context. Back in Train Sim World 3 and 4, when we were making content, when we were making routes, there was, obviously we've always had bugs in Train Sim World, but we've identified that a bug existed back then. Blurred textures existed in some form back then. And it wasn't the number one thing, as in like it wasn't appearing all the time, it wasn't that prevalent, it wasn't super prominent as like a number one issue. There were other issues we were prioritizing, other core fixes, but it did exist back then. And the reason why that's important that it existed at that stage is because at some point during our development between that point and now, something about, and again, I'm quoting Matt here, so don't it would be worth getting an update from Matt at some point if we're going to record it. But from what I know, the way trains appear on your screen, so if a new train comes along or even an AI train passes you, essentially the memory used to load the textures on that train when they get close to you, when that train leaves, that memory doesn't go away. So the more trains that pass you in, is given scenario, service, or gameplay session, they're kind of eating your memory, and then they're not really freeing it back up, which can mean the longer you play a route, you see more blurred textures, or if you spawn with a bunch of trains all in a depot, it can happen more. The blurred textures happen because when you run out of texture budget or performance or memory, essentially is what we're talking about, like when you have memory of your game, when you run out of available memory to use, the game has to compromise somewhere, and it compromises on that in the textures. That's why the textures are at lower resolution, because it's trying to save the memory by lowering the resolution of the textures and therefore lowering the memory needed. So not ideal. Like I said, there was a bug that existed a while ago on that. So it's not a new thing, it is a core issue. But it's become more prevalent today and it's a mix of things, and I definitely don't want to sound like I'm coming across throwing certain third parties or even our own development teams under the bus, but optimization is a really key part of this. And so the better optimized the route is, the better optimized the textures and modeling and details are, then obviously that eats less budget, which allows the core issue to have more free reign, to take up more memory. Obviously, we want to fix the core issue, but when you use more budget for performance on the actual route itself, the number of timetables included, the number of services, the number of layers, all of these eat your budget, and so it frees up less space for this kind of core issue to be able to load trains. So it's two-part problem, right? You've got a core issue, and you've got how optimized a piece of third-party content is and how much it really uses of your budget. Now also this depends on your system. So we see consoles get affected by this a little bit more because generally speaking, consoles have a smaller texture budget, which also makes it a real pain to diagnose. So you'll get some people playing a route on a system that is different to everyone else, and they'll be like, I'm not noticing a difference, because they're either playing a piece of content that isn't super prevalent on their performance, or they're playing it on a system where they have 64 gigs of RAM and it's perfectly fine. Where we are today is we've identified that problem. A couple months ago, we didn't even know that that original issue was the reason. We didn't know that the trains loading in weren't unloading. There's probably some more details that, again, I'm not aware of, but there's things we know today that we didn't know a few months ago. And obviously this has been happening for a while now, but we're learning more every day. And the more we know about the actual fundamental issue, the closer we can get to a fix. Assume we fix the core issue. Assume we kind of find the magic, we fix the bug, great. It doesn't mean it's not going to vanish this problem, because again, there's the other side of the coin. This is optimization, third-party processes. That's where our QA team should come in. That's where our testing processes should kick in. And if they spot optimization happening, if they spot performance drops, we should identify this. We should work on it. We should work with third parties or even our own teams and optimize and make it better. But it's a two-part process. Right now, in the meantime, while the core issue exists, we're trying to bring down the optimization, we're trying to make it more optimized. So we bring down the memory usage to help as much as we can. Realistically, we need to bring that down both at the same time. And hopefully we'll get there. Like I said, it's not the solution I think everyone wants to hear. I think what the number one thing everyone wants to hear is, yeah, we've got a fix and it's coming next week or next month. We don't have that news yet, but what I can promise you is that this is still the number one thing we talk to our dev teams. Every week we send a sentiment report around, and every week at the top of that sentiment report, it says top community issues in TSW, blurred textures, here's the issue link on Jira, which is our development kind of tracking tool. So we're making our dev teams aware, we're talking with them every week. And again, in our company meetings, and Matt has been talking about this, but he's assigning the teams to work on it. It's slower than we would have liked. I think in fairness, we would have loved to have fixed this by now. We would have loved to fix this months ago, but we haven't got there yet. But we're doing everything we can to try and make this less of an issue. We can't pause development on routes. We can't pause development from third-party creators making content in TSW. I think, everyone could ask, well, why do you fix this issue? Can you just pause everything and make it better later? We can't do that. There is a simple business answer to that, which is just if we stop everything and we put pause on it, then we lose finance and then we lose members of our team and then we have less people working on the issue. So in some ways, from a business point of view, we obviously still need to be making a profit. We still need to be doing as well as we can as a business to make sure that we can also fix it. And I think that can cause frustration. I think if you're frustrated that blurry textures exist, that's extremely valid. I don't want to say all this and make you feel invalid for how you're feeling. But just know that we are doing absolutely as much as we can within our resource at the moment to get this fixed. And I really hope come January, February, we've got some better news. So that's about where we're up to as of now. I'm just checking over my notes. I think that's about it. I think that's pretty much what we summarized last week. And I think the thing is, we're not trying to say this so that you come away from today thinking, oh, good, there's an update on blurred textures, everything's fine now. I get it. It's definitely frustrating. But where possible, any kind of small optimizations you can even make on your own end in terms of layers and stuff. If there's layers you've got on that you don't necessarily want to use, it may help. I'm not saying it will be a fix. But there are possible small workarounds and optimizations. And I think as a community, we'll just try and pull through until we get to that update. But there we go. I hope to speak soon. Okay, I'll tell you what, Astral, I'll pull you up right now. We've got a queue of other people, but I do want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. So hello.
Oh, hello. I wasn't expecting that. So I've got two questions. One regarding, I think, the Southeastern Medway Valley lines, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was very surprised GSMR was in that. So I see that's been announced. I'm very happy about that. Because it's something both me and one of my friends who's also got their hand up in here have been wanting for ages. We literally non-stop on about it because it's man. Anyway, so now that we have it, it's fantastic. But why has it taken so long to be in Trains in World? Just out of interest.
I mean, it's a big question. I'll tell you what, one thing, just props to the Firefly sim devs. Again, I think some of them may be in the chat. But why has it taken so long? I think it's an interesting question. I'll probably answer this in a pretty standard way, which is we do surveys, we do talk with players, we do ask people what is the number one thing you want to see in TSW. And I'll be honest, I don't think that always comes out as number one. I saw some
Yep.
conversation the other day in the forums, which was interesting because a lot of people were talking about, well, was random events really requested that much? And, you know, did we really ask for this as a community? And it's interesting because it was number one by a long shot. You know, like, I think when we put those surveys together, it's obviously fair to say not everyone who plays TSW
Yep.
will answer the survey, but it will be representative of the people that do. It will likely be skewed more towards the core community as well, because not everyone who is kind of a casual player will enter it. But
Yep.
either way, TLDR is like, this is more of like an expert level feature, at least what we've deemed them as. And we've been
Yeah.
experimenting more in that space and trying to make like an actual super hardcore, super realistic, all the features, bells and whistles kind of trains. We've done that with the 101. We've announced the one. We've announced more as well with the 145. And this is a really interesting development. And I would suggest that if you love this feature, I would really make sure that you tell Firefly Sim when it eventually releases, you make sure you
Yep.
let that be known in community spaces, because I'd like to
Yeah, of
think if this
course.
releases and it gets good reviews, our own teams would look at this and be like, what the hell are we doing? Let's get it on the trains that we're making, you know. So I think that's the best answer I can give for now. I can't speak
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
that's fine.
decisions we made in the past, but if it gets a lot of good feedback, I'd love to hope we take it on.
And I've got one other thing to say. So it's about sounds,
Yes.
because I'm a massive sound person with train sim, because I travel on trains frequently, and you know I like listening to whatever. I do struggle to understand sometimes. You know, whether if it's a uh, hang on 1 second. Let me check my notes. We've got really good trains like we got really good UK trains in the game. So like for example the 802, I know that was done by Sam, I think, on All of Old Studios, I think. And some of those sounds are really good. I wasn't personally, I wasn't a fan of the diesel sounds when it came out, because it was reused from the 801, just purely. And it, to me, it's like we're on a diesel line, and the only thing that's been changed is the electric motors, not the diesel sounds, if that makes sense. And it's like, oh, I'm not too sure about that, but it kind of let it down just a little bit, just for me, because I'm, like I said, I'm a sound person. But other than that, I think the route was good.
You know, I think that's really nice feedback. Obviously, I know you mentioned it's disappointing, but it is good feedback to hear nonetheless. But generally, when we look at a new route, we start asking the kind of top level questions. How are we going to do this right? How are we going to make it authentic? For us, I think, and again, I'm speaking outside of my realm, but within knowledge that I am aware of. But UK routes are a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
easier
alright.
because we're in the UK. We're based in the UK. Most of
Yeah.
our team are here. We can go see those locos. And we have enough relationships that we can hopefully get there, get inside, get reference and sound. But we can't always do that. I don't know necessarily like from when it comes to the 80, the 802 or other
Yeah,
or
I heard
other
about the Voyager.
adults.
So
Yeah, all I'd say is when it doesn't happen, it's not because we started with no. We probably
no,
started
of
with we
course.
want to do this, but licensing came up, scope came up. Maybe there was too much to do. Maybe there was other projects we wanted to prioritize, and I know that doesn't always sound great, but it is a reality. But also maybe it's because for some licensing reasons it didn't work out, or budgeting reasons. What I'd say is we do start with the let's do this as absolute best as we can, and then we kind of work with the reality that we're given. But it's good feedback. I mean, at the end of the day, if you told us that I love the route, but I wish the sounds were better, then we know for next time, right, we know what we're doing on the route. Great, lock in team, but let's get those sounds right this time, you know?
Yeah, because like you know how like I said, the diesel sounds were reused from the 801,
Yeah.
and I've never heard an 801 on diesel because it's an emergency use thing, from what I heard. So, but what I go on things like 802s and 805 sometimes, they all use the same engine sounds. So when I hear them on engine sounds, I'm like, I wish this was in TS,
Yeah.
because it would make it more authentic, you know. but a lot of the time, because some people argue you'll spend a lot of the time in the cab, so outside sounds shouldn't bother much. But some people might want to ride as a passenger. That's the whole point of TSW. But anyway, that's enough from me, I think.
I just want to say thank you for saying it. Again, if it's
Yeah.
it's good feedback. I think when the team reuse sound, I know the audio team, they sometimes reuse sound completely, or they kind of reuse and tweak it. Like I said, if they can't go and get that authentic sound every time, they will do their best with what they're given. And sometimes they know it's not perfect, as in like we know it's not authentic exact noises. But they will try and make sure that it's as close to that as possible. And they're great. They're really damn talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will look at sound. I know for a lot of people, it's a super big, like, this is the number one thing I want you to get right when it comes to modeling sound and like timetable. They tend to be some of the top ones. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Okay,
I'll
thank
keep
you.
passing it forward. Cool. Big old
Next
text.
hand.
Next hand. We'll keep going through some hands.
Next hand.
I'll probably say
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
look to
we-
stop
we-
around 4. I think that's about right for us. About an hour or so.
Okay.
I've invited Damien up.
Hello, you're right.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, so I just wanted to ask, in the recent survey, we saw that there was a shift manager gameplay mode mentioned, and I was just wondering, like, what sort of gameplay that would actually like include.
Honest answer, no idea. But I think it's from our team to just say, would people be interested in this, even if we give like a top level flavor? And if there's enough interest from that survey, we would then consider what that actually looks like. But I'm honestly, I just to be truthful, I'm not really too close to what that kind of thought process would look like. And I think if the team have started some ideas there, it would probably be quite top level. Just like if we were going to do this, what would it look like? And then we'll see from the survey if it's even something people want. And if it is, then maybe we'll flesh it out a bit more. But I don't know, if I'm honest.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. And my second question was that, so basically, it kind of feels like half of the routes for Train Sim World have kind of been left behind. Like, I know it was mentioned earlier about the core features not being brought up to most of the routes. And heck, even some routes we're still waiting for TOD 4 to come to them. Is that something that in future might be looked at, or is it completely out the scope?
I'd never start without the scope, especially when we talk about the future. It depends where we want to take the sim. I say we. There are people, producers, developers, Matt. Obviously, they have a vision of what they want for Train Sim World in the future. But I think there are times where we look at things like this, recent remasters. For example, remasters are a good way of bringing TOD 4 and maybe some other updated features to routes. Again, I know everyone's waiting for the GW remaster. It's a really big one. But there may be more we can share soon. Again, I can't open up the can of information right now. But when it comes to remasters and looking at the back catalogue more closely, hopefully there's some more good news. But I think what I'd ask is, if you're able to let us know exactly what that looks like for you. Is it a remaster? And if it is it with all the features? Or is it just TOD 4? Or is it TOD 4 and maybe random events? You know, what is it that at a minimum you'd want and at a maximum you'd love? And if we know that, and if we can get that right, then I think the idea of looking at the back catalogue and doing them again is more feasible. But to be clear, I think it's probably worth having a conversation that like updating a back catalogue for all these new features can never really truly exist as like a free endeavor. It's tough and it's a really big project. And again, when we look at remasters, we do obviously they are updates. They are free for players. But for our teams, it's not free. You know, it's still time from our teams. It's still development time. So we've always got a question like, how do we do that? How do we do it right? You know, we've done kind of 2 ways of doing remasters. You know, we do. You've got the kind of typical remaster, which we talked about with West Somerset Railway, free for all the owners of the routes, comes with new stuff. It's only a win. And then we've done kind of like upgrades like Southeastern High Speed Extended or Leipzig Dresden, which is kind of like remaster but plus a whole bunch and maybe some new track and like remaster plus. We're experimenting in that. We're looking at what we've done in the past and trying to do it better. So in TLDRs, in the future, yes, we will look at that. but I would love to keep knowing more about what we can feed to our teams to say, if you're going to do this, or if you're going to think about this, players have asked, let's get Todd 4 in, let's get random events in, let's get this in, and you can leave the rest. Or we can start there and then go from there. You know what I mean? So hopefully that gives you some kind of answer.
Okay, thank you for that. Have a good one.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, another hand. I probably will have to admit, maybe not everyone will get answered in this list. There's another 8 people, few minutes per person. Probably won't happen in 10 minutes. But if you've got one question you want to ask, maybe keep it to just one and a follow-up. Anyway, I'll stop stalling time. Ryan, come up to speak if you can.
Hi. Hold on, give me a sec. I have 3 questions. So question 1, so you can maybe like do some more work on like around Scotland, maybe like Aberdeen to Inverness or Aberdeen to Edinburgh. Like such as the trains could be like LNER, class say to 1, class 220, 158, or like the 170, etc.
It's a good suggestion, but I would say for now
Yeah.
it is just a suggestion. So I appreciate hearing it. But we do have a suggestion that I haven't checked it recently, but if you have been in there and put that in, it's always good to share with our teams.
Yeah, the next question is about the door operations. Like when you're a driver or a guard, like when the guard or the driver like presses the door open button, like it opens like all of the doors, but though like I'm thinking like to make it more realistic, like only it would unlock, then the like passengers can maybe like press the door open button to like open it, then they can walk in.
Great suggestion. I'll be honest, we
Yeah.
probably want to make the passengers behave better in other ways first. I would love to see that, but I would love to also make them less janky in general at times as well. So maybe if we look at passengers, we can think about that as like a kind of higher scope. But yeah, it's not a bad suggestion.
Yeah, the third one and last, is maybe like adding, I know you don't have the licenses, but although I like maybe in the future or something, you can maybe add like London Euston to, or like Doncaster, or something to London King's Cross using the Class 801. Maybe.
Again, good suggestion. I know a lot of people are really keen around London. And I think when obviously we talked about Peterborough to Doncaster, I think there was a lot of desire there for that to kind of go further as well. But a good suggestion. I guess for now I can really say on that is just thank you for keeping us informed of what you want, at least. Hopefully we can kind of deliver more on that with future routes.
Okay, that's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. All right, for the rest of you with hands up, you get one though. You get one. I was generous there, but you get one. Sorry, I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. Again, I can't promise everyone in this list will, but more people, I would love a chance.
I'll use crossing my arms like a main teacher as a code. That's the code.
Okay. Hi, Luke.
Yeah, I will talk in English now. I had one question, multiple questions about Leipzig Dresden, but I will just keep it to one.
Yeah.
Firstly, why was there no new rolling stock included, like an IC4 or?
We know there was a lot of demand for the IC4. Gosh, I remember looking at the YouTube chat. It was basically every comment at one point. So the why here is really tough for me to answer because again, I'm not in every conversation here. I think it's hard to know exactly why, but I just want to make sure that like it's really clear from our side. We don't start with the conversation, the conversation of let's redo the Dresden line, let's do it from Leipzig all the way to Dresden. That's great, but let's not give them any stock because why would we? That's not where it starts. I think there was desire initially, and I'm speaking very initially, to have some extra stock there, but I don't know where that went. And I think scope is a big thing here. The team have a lot of work when we make new cores and new releases and new core routes. There's a lot that goes on, and at some point we've got to call it done. And sometimes that can extend into the locos we make or the new stock we make. Obviously, for a player, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear new stuff. You want to hear great stuff. We're hoping that when we can't add rolling stock, we're still adding value. Again, we know people were disappointed that there wasn't new stock there. So we're not blind to that. We totally hear that. It's feedback we wrote in the sentiment reports, and we wrote big reports. But it's good to hear. But when that happens, we do make sure that, like, what can we add? And I think Leipzig came with 4 included locos. Again, for people that have tons of content, maybe you already have that, so maybe it's a bit of a miss. But for people that don't have it, it's a big win. So it's not a perfect solution, but we try and make that compromise. We try and make that work.
Yeah. Very briefly, any new Dutch content?
I can't say anything. You know I can't. Can I just say though that Zwolle Groningen was a really fantastic release. So there's no news yet.
It was amazing. I'm still enjoying it every day. Like,
that's really great to hear.
Seeing the country, like, it's really good.
I think the team knocked it out of the park with Zwolle Groningen. It got great reviews, it got great reception. I'd love to see it, but we'll have to see. We've got some new reveals and season reveals, but again, if it's not in that, then we got roadmaps over the years, and you'll have to wait, I think. But
yeah,
I appreciate the ask.
Yeah, have nice holidays. And
yeah, happy holidays as well. Thank you for joining us. All right, that was great. Yeah, platinum medal for that.
We got this.
We got this.
We got this.
So yeah, I invited Sandwich Man. Hello.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I had a few questions, but I'll try and keep it brief and just ask one. So my question is, how come the Mönchengladbach to Duisburg route wasn't merged with the Duisburg to Bochum route, since that route was quite short and could probably get a remaster at this point?
Sorry, repeat which routes those were. Manchester.
Hauptstrecke Duisburg to Bochum, and yeah. Why weren't those two merged?
As of why they were merged, I again truthfully don't know. Not privy to some of these conversations. Okay. It's gonna sound a little boring, but I think the real answer is, again, it's a similar thought process to the last question, which is there would have been a conversation, I reckon, at some point, whereas can we offer more here? But I'm not truly sure where the ins and outs went. So I don't think I'm capable of giving you a proper answer on that. And if maybe we can pull Matt onto a roadmap stream at some point or one of these calls, maybe we can pose it to Matt.
Yeah, okay. Then also, just a quick one. Will we ever see any Swedish content, since we're getting a Portuguese route, and Portugal and Sweden, they have the same train protection system, so it'll be a little easier to make one?
Would love to see it. What I would say is the new countries we talked about, so this was Lisbon, Tisabutal, the Portuguese, the Czech route, and then obviously the Tsunami line, they're all third party. So it's more of a case of, if there are third parties out there that want to make Swedish content, I mean, if they're not already in contact with us, then get in contact with us. But there is a lot of third parties. If I had to take the latest numbers, I think it's something about 100 to 130 third-party developers working with us, all at the same time. Very different points of development, as a note, but it's a lot. There's a lot of things going on. It's really interesting, but anyway, sorry, I wish I could give you a better answer to your question, but I don't think I'd be able to give as good a detail, I think, as you'd want.
Okay, yeah, and if we get one, please include an RC6 locomotive. Would love to see one.
Made a note.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right,
this is just pretty personal bias, but yeah. Thank you. Goodbye. Cheers. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays. I'm just checking. I don't think we got a chance to join Matt in again. He might have had a meeting overrun. I'll see if I can pull him into our next one of these.
We had a request from Mr. Neil to go next because they've got to run.
Okay, I'll bring you in, Neil, and then maybe we'll do you and one more person before we close off.
Right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Thanks for waiting.
Yep.
Hello. Right. I've got 2 questions, if that's okay.
Keep them really quick.
So I did see in a video the other day that Birmingham to Crewe was finished around like June 2025, but like it was meant for Trains Mod 5, but then got for Trains Mod 6 or something. I'm not quite sure, but I was just wondering, is that true?
So this was, you may have heard it because it was in, I think this was actually talked about in our last Q&A, but we didn't record that. So I think someone asked us the question similarly, and I think it was JD responding. The first part of that question is, though, when you say meant for Train Sim World 5, it depends what you mean by that, because at the end of the day, it was released in Train Sim World 6 and it was never released in Train Sim World 5. But when you think about it, it was released in, fingers crossed I've got this right, but I'm pretty sure that was October. It's already the start of December already. But it was one of the first releases for Train Sim World 6. And when you think about that, it didn't start development earlier that month. It was in development through a lot of Train Sim World 5's period. So it was made on Train Sim World 5. It was made at the same time that Train Sim World 5 was the TSW of the year. So I guess what I'd say is maybe there was a timeline where it could have released in Train Sim World 5's period, but it then kind of moved forward. I can't speak on behalf of all aboard or our own development timelines there, but I believe it was something that we were always scoping for Train Sim World 6. But it would have been developed during Train Sim World 5 because it's not something you can just turn around in a few months. So maybe that's where that kind of conversation came from and went.
Probably. My next question, I know you're gonna hate me for this. It's a route suggestion. I have put it in the forums, but I will put it in the Discord as well. I was thinking London Blackfriars to either Denmark Hill or London Victoria, because then you have the Thameslink corridor and part of the Gaffer Main Line. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea.
It's a good suggestion. I tell you what, I'm a big fan of Thameslink because I'm able to go on that line. I don't want to hear it. Who just put "we want pump car"? I don't want to hear it. Fake
you know
Jasper.
what? For the community, can I have a pump car, please?
Hey, whoa.
Right, okay, I appreciate you jumping on there, Neil.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I really wanted to ask. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move you back to the audience. Oh, sorry. I think you were going to wish us a wonderful, happy holiday, but I pushed you up too soon. Again, we're trying to wrap up, but I appreciate you being here.
We're speed. We've got technically four hands left. Depends how fast the questions are.
We can do them, but no more hands. One question each.
I'll fold my hands.
You get like 1 minute, and we can get through them. But we've probably spent a bit
Hello?
longer than we should have. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I have a question. Is the Baureihe 4746 the Zero ML CityJet going to be in Train Simulator 6?
I can't say so. We don't have any plans. We've not announced that. So there's nothing we can say on that point.
Okay. Is there going to be any future? Is there going to be any future ÖBB trains to Train Simulator 6?
Again, same answer. If we haven't announced it, which I don't think we have, I don't think there's any ÖBB content out there. Then we can't say. Our hands are tied. We can't say until we announce, really. So.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay,
thank you. Bye.
I would maybe suggest
it might whittle the questions down just to say if you have a question that is this coming to TSW and it's not announced, we aren't gonna say anything. We won't say anything.
I'll bring the next person up. I appreciate that some people do just want to double check or they've waited or they're not here, but there you go.
In case they've missed it.
Anyway, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I'm a train driver in Ireland, and I was just wondering, is there any plans, any Irish routes? Because Northern Ireland have the same rules as the UK in relation to AWS safety routes, and Southern Ireland, where I drive, has similar routes because I drive both south and north, and that was just a query I have.
I would love to get Ireland into Train Sim World. I don't know. We don't have any plans as of today. I can't announce if we do. I would love to, because it would mean, obviously, I don't think we have any Irish routes in TSW. I don't know if we have any in TS Classic that we would consider building upon, but I would love it. But there's nothing I can say, unfortunately, on that.
I understand. Well, you can always send me a message if you need any information.
That's really great. As a note, honestly, if we do ever announce Irish content, and as a train driver, you would be really valuable in our beta team, and we would enroll you. We could consider enrolling you as like a just for this kind of content, help us get that detail in. So that's a really good note.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really hope the next question isn't a suggestion. It can't be the pump. If someone says pump car, I'm just ending the stream.
Just the two left.
Susan.
Come on, extra. Hello, hi, okay, hello. Sorry for the phone wind. Hi, I wanted to raise an issue. Right with 802. So the 802, the diesel mode only works on. Sorry, the diesel mode only works on 2 routes. 3, sorry. So the diesel mode only works on the Riviera, Cardiff Networker, and Peak Forest. But whenever I try to use diesel mode on other routes, it doesn't work.
Let's definitely get that raised to our dev team. I think we can flag that as an issue.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, like when I try to use diesel mode on the Great Western Express, like I can only do like barely half the route due to it being identified to Hayes Honington. So I just think that getting it fixed to allow us to operate on other routes would be great.
We do have a ticket already raised for this.
Okay.
I can check it with Dev. The last comment was just about ensuring that diesel mode button is pressed after starting the engines.
Yes.
But thank you for raising it. If we've got a ticket, we'll try and chase on that. We've got another call with our issues team, I think, later in the week.
I've got it right here.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry for bringing me out breath. Just got a bus. Sorry. But yeah, thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas. You guys got to stop with the pump car. I couldn't contain my laughter there for a minute.
Ticket.
I do see, Ramar, you put your hand up, but you weren't on our original list. So I'm going to go to Sam. If you want to ask a question to our team, you can join us next week, but Sam will be our last one for today. So come join us up on stage and then we'll close off. But what a session today, everyone. I feel like it's been really great.
Hello.
Hello.
I just have a quick question about the new 2025 timetable for the West Coast Main Line South. You have the 805, but the Class 90 is also releasing soon. Will you be able to drive the Class 90 on the new 2025 timetable for the West Coast Main Line South?
I'm actually, truthfully speaking, not 100% sure. It's a good question. Obviously, you can do it in free roam, but I don't think we've talked about that in relation to West Coast Main Line South. I don't know about the 805 either. Off the top of my head at least, but in terms of timetable, I'm not sure. But obviously, free roam exists. I know it's not obviously as good as timetable in certain ways, but it is still an option. But if we can find out if there is any information we can share, I will make sure that we include that in articles and details and share that to the community.
All right, great. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining. And with that, I think we're at a wrap. What a session, everyone! This was pretty good. I think we've had. Yeah, I've made a bunch of notes, but I think, Harry, you've been taking like the full details, which are great. It's been an hour. We've talked a lot. We do only assign 30 minutes to these, but I think every time we're in these calls, it's never long enough to really properly get a proper sense of the room and a proper experience with everyone asking questions. I'd love to keep doing these. So we've got one next week. We've got the roadmap on Thursday as well. So next week, if there are questions you still have, we can do that. And I think, open a suggestion thread for it. It's really good. Obviously, even if it's a thread, we still have to input our time into it. There are other projects we need to work on. There's other things we need to work on. Plus, there are holidays in the team. I'm pretty sure, Harry, it's your last week this week. So before you close off for
It is
Christmas,
my last week. I'm such a part-timer in December.
I'll be honest, I was kind of a part-timer in November because I had a bit of holiday there as well. So we're trying to be, we're trying to make sure we give to the community as much as we can. And I think these streams are really good. And it has devolved into just pump car. So anyway, for the video on YouTube, you are going away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for joining. But